Hi everybody, it's Andrea over at Sewspire.com. Today I am here to show you how to sew this really fun crossbody / hip bag. This was one of the bags that was in the preview that I published earlier this week, and it was requested to be made into a tutorial, so I have that for you here and now. And I will be turning the other bags that you requested into tutorials as well. I am also making really great progress on editing and rebranding my original tutorials for the camera bag you liked and the diaper bag you liked. And I'm shooting to have those available for purchase next week. So I will be sure to let you know when they're ready, and you are welcome to keep your eyes on Sewspire.com and the Sewspire Facebook and Instagram, where I will also put out an announcement. But until then, shall we get started making this little beauty? Okay, so for this project, you're going to need to know how to join fabric, which is simply taking multiple pieces of fabric, just two at a time, and placing them right sides together and then stitching those down to create a larger piece of fabric. And when I'm joining fabric, I'm using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So that will show you what it looks like to join fabric, and then you're welcome to press down your seams. So I just wanted to demonstrate what that technique looks like. And then that is how I crafted the strap for this bag. And what I did is I joined 3 pieces of fabric, one which measures 15 inches by 5 inches, one that measures 5 inches by 5 inches, and the longest piece measured 32 inches long by 5 inches. So I use that technique to create one very long piece of fabric which measured a little over 48 inches long by 5 inches wide. And so once you have that long strip of fabric together, then you can create your strap, and that is simply done by folding your fabric in half and pressing it, then opening that up and folding the raw edges in on that center press line. So it creates something that would look like that, and I have inserted a strip of cotton quilt weight batting which measures 2.5 inches wide by the length of the strap, and I lay that right in there in that center channel. And then you take your finished edges and you fold those over, and that's how you create an awesome patchwork or pieced strap. So we're going to stitch this strap first. I'm going to begin on this open edge here and strip that or stitch that down. And I am using again the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and this is just top stitching. I'm going to go all the way down that right hand side, and then I'm going to come over to the left hand side and put another row of top stitching. Alright, so now I have a really colorful long padded strap. This is just perfect for fall, these great colors. And that's going to allow me to wear the bag crossbody. And I just want to double check the measurements on this strap for you because I think it's a little longer than 48 inches. So we have 48, 49, 50. It's probably 51 inches in length. Ultimately, I'm going to fit it on the bag so it'll be 48 inches long because that's what fits me. Now, if you need a longer strap or a shorter strap, just adjust your pieces. That's the benefit of the piece strap is you can create a totally custom strap that fits you exactly. Now the next step in this project is to create the exterior rear pocket, and this piece here measures 10 inches across by 11 inches tall, and this is just a nice thick piece of canvas. I chose this great rich chocolate brown. I want to put a little piece of trim on top of that, and the trim measures 3 inches wide by 10 inches long. You're going to prepare the trim in the same way that you did the strap. You fold that in half and then bring those raw edges in to meet on the center line, and then fold that over one more time so that the finished edges are aligned. And then you can just position the top edge of your pocket up in there to meet on that center line. And you can put a couple pins in this if you need. I think it's probably a good idea so it doesn't slip when you're top stitching that down. And so that's the back, and that's the front. And now I'm just going to stitch 3/8 of an inch from this bottom edge. Pretty, and see how that adds such a nice touch of color. Okay, so the exterior pocket is done. Set that aside for a minute, and we're going to prepare the exterior panels, which have this magnificent pleat in the center. Now the exterior panels measure 12 inches across by 15 inches tall. To create this pleat, which runs right up the center, the easiest way to create it is to fold your fabric in half long ways, press that to create that center line, and then let me give you the exact measurements. At the 4.5 inch mark, bring the fabric in to meet on that center line, and then you repeat the same process on the other side. And ideally, at the ironing board, you press that flat. You're going to end up with this great center pleat, which I hope is showing up, but you could probably see how that pleat is coming together on the back side. And if I hold it like this, you can see how the pleat lays down. And so you can fiddle with this at the iron until what you have is in the center, and we want to do that with both of the exterior panels. So I have this great pleat going down the middle, and I'm just going to top stitch that pleat down to create some detail. You could leave it open if you want. I love the way the stitches look with the pleat tacked down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to both panels. There you can see the first panel. I've stitched that down. I'm going to repeat that process for the second one. Alright, now the pleat is tacked down on both, and when your exterior panels have the pleats in them and they're stitched, they should measure 10 inches wide by 15 inches tall. And now it's time to position that exterior pocket that we created on the panel. So this is going to be on the rear of the bag. So wherever you put the pocket will become the rear panel, and you're just going to line that up approximately 4 inches from the top, and you're lining the base of both, and just make sure that's even on both sides, and so you can still see some of that great pleat at the top there, which is why we pleated the rear panel as well. And so I have that pocket pinned down. Now I want to take the front pleated pocket and position that right sides facing. And you want to try and align your pleats at least at the top. You won't see where they're aligned at the base, but I'm guessing that they're very close to being perfect. So put 2 pins at the top and 2 at the bottom. And then just remember which is the top of the bag, because you want to leave that open. We're going to head over to the machine and back stitch at the beginning and the end. We're going to stitch down the side, across the base, and back up the side. And when I am stitching the body, I am using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, now technically the exterior is just about complete. The only thing that I want to do is add a tiny bit of depth to the base of this bag, and you're going to do that by lining up the side seam and the base seam. So the easiest way to do that is to just feel, and then you can visually see that those seams are aligned. And I just want to put like 2 inches of depth. So I'm going to stitch right across that triangle there, approximately 2 inches. And you can mark that with a pin if you like, or you can try and press it with your finger. I'm just going to put a little pin in there until I get it over to my machine, and then I'll remove that. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end and reinforce this stress point. I want to repeat the same process with the other corner, just creating that 2 inches of depth. See how the bag has a little bit of depth there. And I just need to trim off these little corners to the right of the stitch line. Then you can go ahead and turn the bag right side out. You've got your pocket pins in there, take those out. And go ahead and poke out the corners at the base. Very sweet. I really like how this looks. This bag is going to hide so much dirt and wear, isn't it? Like, I'm just going to be able to use it all winter. Okay, so now fold in this top edge approximately an inch, maybe an inch and a half. So you want to get a good height there so it's not too tall. I will tell you now, it measures on the side 11.5 inches tall, which is great. So just fold that over, make sure both sides are the same measurement, nice and even. So it's just a little bit taller. and the pleats are aligned. I'm happy about that. So you could just set this aside for a few minutes while we create the interior, which is much simpler because the panels are already cut 10 inches wide by 15 inches tall, and I'm using a lightweight quilt cotton for this that complements the strap. And all I have to do for this is position both panels right sides together and then stitch down the sides across the base and back up the other side, reinforcing at the beginning and the end with the back stitch. And this is the same 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, and then we have to give the same depth to the interior. So you're just reaching inside and aligning the side seam with the base seam, fashioning that little triangle there, and then we're going to stitch across 2 inches to create the same depth. And with the quilt weight cottons, it's much easier to get that line with your fingernail. And then I need to repeat that with the other corner. And then just trim off those ends to the right of the stitch line. And now the interior is done. And you're going to fold that top edge over approximately 1.5 inches. And you can measure, I think we were looking for about 11.5 inches in height, which this is good. And the interior is just this really fun polka dot. So now you want to take your exterior and fit the interior inside of that. You're going to begin by lining up the side seams first and just put a pin in each side seam. And then you can pull that taut end, put a pin in the center, right through that fabulous pleat, and then put a pin on the other side in the center. And that should do it. You can reach in there and just fit that interior and poke out those corners. I love this. Okay, now we have to create the exterior flap, which also has an amazing pleat in it. So to begin, for the exterior flap, you're going to need to cut a piece of fabric which is 10 inches wide by 11 inches tall, and you're going to fold it in half and then position the pleats on either side so that you end up with a piece of fabric when it is pleated that measures 8 inches wide by 11 inches tall. So that pleat is going to consume 2 inches of the fabric. And then do the same thing and stitch that down. Now the exterior of the flap is prepared, and I need to create the interior lining for the flap, which I use the same piecing method and I took 3 pieces of fabric, 2 of which were 5 inches tall by 8 inches wide, and then 1 piece which was, I believe it was 3 inches, yes, 3 inches tall by 8 inches wide. I pieced those together to create 1 panel of fabric which was 11 inches tall by 8 inches wide. All of these measurements will be in the show notes, or if you go to Sewspire.com, you'll just see a complete little roundup with the video. So don't worry about trying to write everything down. You could just go there and see it in one place. You can probably even screenshot it and print it off, or copy and paste it into your notes and print that as well. That'll save a little time. Okay, so I have the exterior flap with the pleat and the interior pieced flap, and I'm going to position those right sides together, and I just want to stitch down the sides, across the base, and back up the side. Leave that top open. And with this, I'm just using the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And now I need to flip it right side out. Poke out those corners. So fun. Love that. Okay, so now we can position, I just want to get rid of these little extra strings first. If you wanted, you could press this flat too. Now we need to position the flap on the bag, so this open raw edge is going to be inserted in the back in between the interior and the exterior layer. And you just need to put that in there about an inch and align, go ahead and align those pleats. Oh, so awesome. And put a couple pins in there to hold everything in place. Isn't that great? Okay, so when this flap closes, it will line up like that. Oh, I love this. Really just so pretty. Okay, the last part of the assembly process before we stitch everything in place is to position our strap, and that goes in the same way. You just want to put that centered on that seam in between the interior and the exterior layers. You could just put a pin in all of those layers. Alright, so when the bag is on your body, now you want to just test fit that and make sure your strap is not too long or too short before you sew everything. And that's truly perfect for me. Taking into account, I would use this throughout the fall, so eventually I'll be wearing a jacket and need a little extra room. But that fits really good. So I'm so happy with this. I've been eager to make this style in a darker color. Okay, so the very last step is to sew everything together. You'll want to reinforce the straps, the handle on each end when you reach that point. I like to begin at the handle, so I remove the deck of the machine there. Then I'm just going to slip everything on that arm, and I'm going to begin at the strap and just move all the way around the bag very slowly, removing the pins as I go, and then taking the time to reinforce the handle on both sides. Yay, it's done. Oh my gosh, I love it, love it, love it, love it. So all I have to do is trim up these threads. So adorable. Wow. I'm going to use this tomorrow. Okay, let's try it on. It fits great. Now you could totally add snaps if you wanted to the flap. It's such a long flap, and I just really feel like you feel somebody reaching inside your bag. If you're going into New York City, obviously this is probably not the bag to carry, but if you're just tootling around a tiny little town like this one, no worries. You can use this. So you could carry this exterior with the pleat out, or don't you think you could totally flip it around? And wouldn't that be just as cute with this what was the rear pocket out? And then if you have your phone and what have you, just have that really handy. I love it. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. Got to come up with a fun name for it. So cute. All right, let me give you the finished measurements on this little beaut. So you're looking at 8 inches wide by, should be the 11 and a half inches tall, and then just a smidgen over 2 inches in depth. So fun. Anyways, thank you for sewing with me. I just have one quick reminder. I did get a chance to restock the little mini saddle bags. These kits are only $5 each, and it includes everything, including the snaps that you would need to complete the mini saddle bag tutorial, which you'll find on YouTube and Sewspire.com. This is one of my favorite designs that we've made, and I use this actually to hold my GoPro and all the accessories, but I could see a lot of really fun uses for this. So if you're interested in the kit, the proceeds from the kits help offset the cost of running the blog so I can continue to produce these free tutorials. With the proceeds of last week's kit sales, I was able to buy us a new microphone, and based upon your feedback, you can hear me now, so I'm absolutely thrilled with that. I'll be back next week with another inspired sewing project. So until then, please know the creative genius in me salutes the creative genius in you. Take care.